أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم सारी जन्नत में रसूल अज़ली लिखा है, सारी जन्नत में रसूल अज़ली लिखा है। डाली डाली पे अली और वली लिखा है, सब पत्तों पे हसन और कली पर ज़हरा, सुर्ख फूलों पे हुसैन दूने अली लिखा है। सारी जन्नत में रसूल अज़ली लिखा है, डाली डाली पे अली और वली लिखा है, सब पत्तों पे हसन और
you and announce to those who are not aware, the merciful, the compassionate. All praises to Allah, the creator of the universes and their sustainer, the provider of believers and unbelievers. And may His choicest blessings be on the seal of His prophets, the last of His messengers and His holy progeny. And in particular, may His blessings ever continue to flow on the seventh successor to the Holy Prophet, on Imam Musa al-Kadhim, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. We have had occasion, by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to discuss the brilliance, the teachings, the guidance from the seventh Imam alayhi salam, whilst he was able to meet with people. Yesterday we saw how, because of the threats and fears meted out by Mansur, he could not even positively declare his imamah on the martyrdom of the sixth Imam alayhi salam, and yet made it known to those who mattered, conveyed to the people who the true Imam is, so that guidance was not lost and people did not become misguided or go astray. Things, of course, improved, and he was able to conduct the imamah much more openly in days to come. Yet, what is unique about this Imam alayhi salam is that a good portion of his life of imamah was spent in custody. Various numbers of years are quoted in history. Some say he spent 13 years in custody. Some quote lesser period. Nobody quotes less than 6 years of that life of imamah. But what I find absolutely brilliant, what I find inexplicable, is that even that period when he was incarcerated, when he was away from his people, he made so much tabligh that it appears to us that we get as much from him when he was away from us, when he was hidden in dungeons, as also when he was with the people, living with them. This I uphold as perhaps the greatest miracle of Al-Kadhim alayhi salam. Miracles of Al-Kadhim alayhi salam are famous. We looked at them last night, quite a few of them. And the night before, Indeed, books have been amassed purely on the miracles of Al-Kadhim alayhi salam. But I dare say his greatest miracle was the way he made tabligh, the way he converted those who did not believe in him, those who were sinners, those who did not know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all, the way he converted them into Islam. And God alone knows how many became converted through those who got converted in this way. It is an absolutely brilliant history of an Imam who proved his worth and who proved his true deserving from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be really an Imam. To convert that period, a period of affliction, into one in which he could conduct hidayah, into which he could flow guidance to the people, is absolutely momentous. I dare say there is not another example in history which can equal the achievements of Imam Kadhim alayhi salam, even when he was in custody. And the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that guidance which he gave became propagated through his enemies. His friends were not there with him. It is through enemies that this guidance becomes propagated, and we get them today into our hands. And I shall make some endeavor to point out those enemies through whom we get this news, so that we are sure that what we are being told is the truth. Enemies who would have hidden the truth if they could have, but the truth so much glowed in their hearts that they could not bear to bury them in their heart and had to vomit them out. And this continued all through the imprisonments. Mansur died. He was followed by his son Mahdi. Mahdi was no better. In fact, he was worse. He was a drunkard. He indulged in wine, so much so that he expected Al-Kadhim alayhi salam even to agree to issue a fatwa that drinking was permissible. Those no opportunity to give you the full dialogue that passed between him and Al-Kadhim alayhi salam, in which the Imam alayhi salam proved how wine is totally forbidden. He, of course, was also quoting those ayats of Quran which said that there is some benefit in wine. Anything to linger on, any feather on which to hold before he is drowned in his argument. But the Imam alayhi salam totally refused to accept that argument, and his fatwa was that it was haram for anybody even to touch a drop of an alcoholic drink. He wanted gambling to be made lawful in Islam, and the Imam alayhi salam resisted it. You can see why we say, and this is not one bit an exaggeration, that but for our Imams alayhimus salam, Islam would have vanished. You can see in what hands Islam was getting. And there was no shortage of those ulama who were quite happy and quite willing to suck the favors of the Khalif to issue such fatwas. But the Imam alayhi salam resisted him, and resisted him all through. Ultimately, he became a prey of the Khalif, and the Khalif decided that he should imprison the Imam alayhi salam. But even in the course of that imprisonment, events occurred which flabbergasted Mahdi. One instance I want to give you of what occurred during that imprisonment is not only to prove the point I am now making, but to establish that even when in imprisonment, he does not forget his shears, and those who seek succor from him, even when he was so incarcerated, he reached them help in many ways. One of those shears was fortunate to be with him. I say fortunate, but in unfortunate circumstances. When the Imam alayhi salam was incarcerated, on my reading of that bit of his life, I think it was in the period of Mahdi, another, and I get this from Muhaqqiq Bahbahai in his leading work, He says that another Shia was also incarcerated by Mahdi for similar reasons, for reasons of being a Shia primarily. Well, Abu Ali Musayyab Hamadani, he was incarcerated with the Imam alayhi salam, and fortunately there was a period of time when they were in the same prison, in the same cell of the prison. He, of course, was inspired by the presence of the Imam alayhi salam, made his life easier. But when some period of time had passed and he hadn't met his family, one day he approaches the Imam alayhi salam and says to the Imam, I so much miss my family. I'm sure you can do something by which I can meet my family. And the Imam alayhi salam says, yes, Abu Ali, make a ghusl. And Abu Ali makes the ghusl. And after ghusl, he meets the Imam alayhi salam. The Imam alayhi salam says, shut your eyes. And he does. Then he tells him, open your eyes. And when he opens his eyes, he finds himself facing the dhari of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. This is perhaps a night when, as we are sitting in this grief, we can together pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He should make it possible for us all to get to Karbala, to the zari of Imam Hussein alayhi salam as soon as possible. So that we too render our salam in person. We just rendered it from a distance, and we shall render it again tonight in the small hours, and tomorrow, of course, is the special ziyarah taught by the 6th Imam alayhi salam. The thawab of that ziyarah is incalculable. And the wordings are absolutely fantastic, taught by Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. And indeed, Imam Baqir alayhi salam, both of them taught at different periods in identical words. So he finds himself there. He recites the ziyarah, recites the namaz. And soon he finds the Imam with him. The Imam says, Abu Ali, shut your eyes again. And he does. And after a while tells him, open your eyes. And when he opens his eyes, he says, I was at the graveside of the Holy Prophet. There, he is bewildered. And the Imam alayhi salam says, Abu Ali, why are you bewildered? He says, I cannot believe all this, Yabna Rasulullah. But I know it is within your power. I cannot even make out where I am. And the Imam alayhi salam says, Abu Ali, don't you see, this is the shrine of the Holy Prophet, may peace be upon him and his progeny. And Abu Ali recites the ziyarah and recites the salah, and then the Imam alayhi salam says, Abu Ali, you can now go and visit your family. Visit your family, and I will stay here. And Abu Ali says, at one stage I wondered how I do it, but I did. I walked out of that mosque. I went to my house. I met the entire family. A pure coincidence, according to him, calculated measure, as we now see in retrospect, that the entire family was there. Abu Ali met them all. The Imam alayhi salam had said, when you have met them to your heart's content, join me back at this place where I'm conducting my salah, where I'm praying in the mosque of the Holy Prophet. May peace be upon him and his progeny. And when Abu Ali comes back and meets the Imam alayhi salam, the Imam says, shut your eyes now. When he shuts his eyes, stage comes, he's told, open your eyes. He opens his eyes. And when he opens his eyes, he finds himself at the top of the mountain in Syria, the mountain of Ashabul Kahf. Those of you who have visited that mountain know what I'm talking about. The top of the mountain, and Abu Ali says, Sayyidi, where are we? He says, we are at the peak of the mount of Kahf. So he says, we are in Syria. And he says, yes, indeed, we are in Syria. And we shall see more of this. We shall see more of this next year or the year after, if Allah will so will that these sittings continue. Well, so he says, Yabna Rasulullah, why are we here? Is there any particular ziyarah? He says, yes. And this is absolutely fantastic. He says, 40 of my friends are in problems on which they have to meet me in person. In other words, there are those in problems who have their problems solved by the Imam alayhi salam without their needing to meet him in person. Like we have our problems, alhamdulillah, solved by Sahib al-Hujjah, ajjalallahu farajahu. without us even knowing on occasions that he has solved them. That, of course, happened all from the prison. And it's a matter of great consolation to us that if the 7th Imam alayhi salam could do it all whilst being in prison, so can the 12th Imam alayhi salam guide us, lead us, and help us whilst he is in ghaibah. But coming back to point, he says 40 of them, awliya as he called them, my friends, who are in difficulties, and I must meet them in person. So I have asked them to be here. I wish Abu Ali had asked him how he communicated that. He says, I've asked them to be here, and they will soon be here. And Abu Ali says, I saw them there. And the Imam alayhi salam met them all. And when he had met them all, he tells Abu Ali, close your eyes, Abu Ali. So he does. When he opens his eyes, he sees himself back in the prison, in the same place where he was with the Imam alayhi salam. I say this like what I've been doing for the last 2 nights for a number of reasons. One of which is that although he was incarcerated in the manner in which we read and which we will discuss tonight, he was not a helpless person. He was not a helpless person. That incarceration was in the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for specific reasons which he had to accomplish. One or two of which we shall seek to examine in the short period we have. But that was the period of Mahdi. Mahdi was the Khalif for 10 years. The Imam alayhi salam spent at least one of those years in custody. How did he come to be revealed? Because Mahdi saw so many miracles that occurred. All this done whilst the Imam alayhi salam was in prison. Indeed, on one occasion, he even saw a person, dark, fierce, ferocious in his dream, with sword unsheathed, saying, Mahdi, you dare keep Al-Kadhim in prison anymore? That was just one of the dreams that he had. And next morning he decided he must release him straight away. When he calls the Imam alayhi salam into his court, he says, what did you do last night? Imam alayhi salam says, I recited 4 rakat namaz and prayed to Allah for relief. And Allah granted, and he says, Allah has granted you relief. I release you now. And I assure you that I will not touch you ever again. And he didn't. Not that he lived long after that. He was succeeded by Hadi. Hadi, equally ferocious. Hadi remained a Khalif for only 15 months. But even during that period of 15 months, he had the Imam alayhi salam in prison for a full year. Fantastic things happened then, particularly with regard to the ibadah of the Imam alayhi salam. But we will see that in detail when we come to the 3rd phase of the imprisonment. He remained in prison for a year out of the 15-16 months that Al-Hadi was the Khalif. And then came the period of Harun Rashid, la'natullah alayh. And when Harun Rashid came into power, he knew too well the capacity of the Imam. 169 AH, Harun comes into authority. 158 to 168 was Mahdi, 168 to 169 Hadi, 169 was Harun Rashid. For 9-10 years, he was trying to find a way of wooing the Imam alayhi salam onto his side. All kinds of offers. Stay with me in the palace and you be the guide of the people. The Imam alayhi salam said, exactly for the reasons the Imam Rada alayhi salam refused to stay in the palace of Mamun, la'natullah alayh, that this will not be feasible. There will not be able to be 2 Imams in one palace unless you are prepared to declare that you are not the true Imam, which I do not expect you to be prepared to. A number of offers sent to the Imam alayhi salam, which he, in his capacity as the Hujjah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, was in no position to accept, and no compromise is made until a stage is reached when Harun Rashid finds that people prefer to send their khums to Al-Kadhim alayhi salam, knowing how that khums was dispersed to the sick, to the poor, to the needy. And Al-Kadhim alayhi salam, of course, always lived on his own income. He saw people respecting him more and more. the position ultimately was that it was felt by him that if nothing was done by him, the Khilafah might slip out of his hands into the hands of Al-Kadhim alayhi salam, unknown to him, surreptitiously, and in a manner that he much feared. Hence, he started maneuvering to imprison the Imam alayhi salam. Indeed, his aim was ultimately to kill him. The Imam alayhi salam continued to conduct his imamah in the manner expected of him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in complete loyalty to divinity. A stage came when Yahya bin Khalid Barmaki, one of his ministers, was used to woo a person within the family of the Imam alayhi salam to speak ill against the Imam alayhi salam, which would then be his excuse to arrest the Imam alayhi salam. And the person chosen was the grandson of Ismail, or the son of Ismail. He was contacted. He was not in very good financial circumstances, but the Imam alayhi salam always helped him. Whenever he was in financial problems, he would go to Al-Kadhim alayhi salam, and he received full maintenance. He was maintained, his entire family was maintained, and at times even the estate that he had inherited was also maintained by the Imam alayhi salam. Despite all that help, and despite the fact that he did not need to turn to anybody else, he is approached by this minister and is told that Harun would like to meet him. And if he meets Harun and plays ball, he will be inundated with wealth. He is tempted. And on a visit to the Imam alayhi salam, the Imam asks him, says, "Oh Ali, I have got the news that you are proceeding to Baghdad." He says, "Yes, uncle, I am proceeding to Baghdad on business." The Imam alayhi salam says, "What business?" He hesitates. The Imam alayhi salam says, "Oh Ali, are you going to visit Harun al-Rashid?" And he gets flabbergasted. He realized that the Imam would have that knowledge anyway. But those are circumstances when the devil plays on our mind. And those are the difficult circumstances that we need to avoid. When the devil is on our mind, we tend to lose our intelligence. Intelligent people behave in a way that shocks us and shocks them later on. That how did I slip in this way? According to some, it is Muhammad, the son of Ismail, and not Ali. However, the majority of the historians mention Ali. Matters not in substance. The Imam alayhi salam says, "Look, Harun Rashid is calling you in order that he should spoil your akhirah, in order that he should woo you to speak against me. Oh Ali, do not go, so that the result is that you cause my death and you cause my children to become orphans." History says that Ali did not reply to that, and that is the startling part of it. But he says to the Imam alayhi salam that he is in financial problems. The Imam alayhi salam could easily have told him that if you are going to Harun and Harun is going to flood you with money, how can you even think of being in financial problems? But he instantly gives him 300 dinars, which is gold coins, and 4,000 dirhams, which are silver coins of that time. Large sum of money then, and says, "Here you are, take this and fulfill all your requirements." As he stands up, he says to the Imam alayhi salam, "Uncle, give me some advice, some wasiyah, some wise words that I can follow before I leave you." And the Imam alayhi salam says, "At this juncture only one, Ali, and that is this: do not behave in a way, do not make statements which will cause my death, because it will be unlawful death. Those statements you will make will be false to your knowledge. So Allah's wrath will fall on you, and do not be the cause of my children becoming orphans." Having heard that, he says, "Well, I will now part from you. Give me some advice before I go." he was hoping to get some advice, like do not miss your salah or do not miss your sawm. But when he asked for the advice again, the Imam alayhi salam repeated exactly those words. He asked advice for the third time, and those exact words were repeated by the Imam alayhi salam again. When he left, the Imam looks at him. There were companions sitting there all the while, and hence we get these reports through them. The Imam alayhi salam says, I know, he will go to Harun, he will speak against me, he will give false reports against me to Harun, and Harun will have the excuse to incarcerate me, to imprison me. The people became surprised. They turned round to him, the companions, and said, Ibn Rasulillah, is this knowledge reaching you now? The Imam alayhi salam says, no, I always had this knowledge through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they turn round to him and say, you amaze us. If you knew that he is now going to cause your death in this way, why did you give him 300 gold coins, 4,000 silver coins? Why did you give him those? This is the bit of Sila Rahm I said 2 nights back that we will discuss tonight. The Imam alayhi salam said, the order from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as conveyed to us through the Holy Prophet is that we must never make what is qat'i rahm. We must never sever our ties with our friends. How do I put it? We must not break our ties with our relatives, particularly those whom we are related to by the womb. We must never cut off our relations with our relatives. And if we do, then Allah cuts off His mercy on us and cuts off our life also, the remainder of our life. Hence, and we have discussed this and we have seen how it happened in that other case of Yaqub, whom the other friend of the Imam alayhi salam had met as he was doing his tawaf, Shu'aib, Kufi, if you remember. Exactly that teaching is now repeated, and he shows how he practiced that principle which he preached. He says to his companions, if I have given him, I will have no reason with Allah for Allah to cut off His mercy with me. Giving him that money was little money compared to the mercy that I expect from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I still become worthy of that mercy from him. He becomes, to his misfortune, unworthy of the mercy of Allah. And mark my words, he says, Harun Rashid will give him money as he will promise for all the lies he will speak against me. But that money will not even reach him. He will not even be able to spend a penny of those monies. His life will become curtailed and he will die in this very trip. He will not even be able to come back from Baghdad. It's a fantastic episode. And that is exactly what happened to Ali. He got to Baghdad. First of all, of course, Barmaki meets him, briefs him about what Harun wants to hear. He undertakes to say what Harun wants to hear. And when he meets Harun, now in public, of course, so that the public comes to know what a nephew of the Imam. You can see how cleverly it is all planned, how a nephew of the Imam comes and speaks against the Imam. Hence, Harun would say, would you not believe this? This is information from within, truth coming from within the family of Al-Kadhim alayhi salam. When Harun meets him, honors him, he turns, he says, it is good to have you here. He says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, and so he calls him. I have come here to express my amazement at your attitude. So Harun says, what is my attitude? He says, oh Harun, how can there be two gods in one world? How can there be two Imams in one Ummah? Harun says, it is not possible. I am the Khalif. And he says, which you are not. Because my uncle also receives khums. He also receives a number of people. He also amasses weapons, which was a total lie. And he didn't amass khums ever. All the khums received in keeping with the teaching of Hazrat Amir alayhi salam. You remember that Baytul Mal was cleared every day. Every cent of Baytul Mal was cleared. And when all that is cleared, 2 rakat namaz was recited. shukr, thanksgiving to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he spent that money lawfully as he was expected to and has no account with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is how Al-Kadhim alayhi salam acted. He says he receives khums, he has recently bought a property, complete fabrication, names the area, teaching of a Barmaki, one assumes. 30,000 has been spent on it. He amasses all this. Who is the Imam? Who is the Khalif? Is it you or is it my uncle? And Harun said, you have opened my eyes, and for this information I will give you a gift of 200,000 dirhams. He says, well, go and buy some property. He picks up property in Baghdad, capital of the Abbasides at that point in time, expensive area. He picks up property there that very day. When he goes home that very day, he gets dysentery. The next morning, out of that dysentery, he needs to go to the toilet and his entire intestine falls off. Doctors, of course, are called. Royal doctors now treat him. They found no treatment. Barmaki brings the money, says, this is the money that has come from Harun. And he says, Barmaki, I do not have the strength even to touch this money. I have no pleasure even to look at this money. What do I do with this money when such is my state? And he dies in that state. The money did not even reach his heirs, because the moment he dies, the money is withdrawn by Harun and replaced into his own coffers. Fantastic example of how his own kith and kin turned against him. Fantastic example of he, knowing that will happen, behaves with the excellence of akhlaq, with the peak of sila rahim, in which he is out to help even one who is going to harm him in that way. Ma'mun, of course, receives the news, and hence he decides to go on pilgrimage. He comes he wants to go to Makkah, but comes to Medina first. And when he comes to Medina, he goes to the graveside of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him and his progeny, and shamelessly stands and says, Ya Rasulullah, I have come to apologize to you. To apologize to you. Political move, you can see. To apologize to you because I am going to arrest your grandson Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam. I am going to arrest him because of the fitna that he is creating, because of the division he is causing in the ummah, and the blood of the ummah that he is to share. Total lies, complete fabrication. And when the people around there heard this, they shook. The next day, the Imam alayhi salam is in the haram of the Holy Prophet, may peace be upon him and his progeny, conducting his regular salah in that place. And officers come and arrest him in a strange way. For that matter, he had been arrested before. For that matter, As-Sadiq alayhi salam was taken, as we saw, 5 times to Al-Mansur. But this was absolutely cruel. He was in the state of salah, and his salah was broken, and he was arrested in that way. He was not even allowed to finish the 2 rakat that he was praying. It's taken to Harun. Harun lays the accusations. The Imam alayhi salam says, Harun, each one of those accusations is untrue. I know you do not want to hear this from me, but I'm telling you this so that on the day of judgment, when you and I meet against each other, and my grandfather is there, whom you called cousin, but he is my grandfather, what you told him last night, the Imam alayhi salam was not there. What you told him last night was a pack of lies. He knows it too. And when he will judge between us, I will want him to know that I came and did Amr bil Ma'ruf to you and told you that all this is a lie. There is not a scintilla of truth in it. You have no proof of it, save for sweeping allegations. And what you are doing will lead you to the wrath of Allah. He causes two mules to be brought, puts 2 litters on those on those mules. One of them is the Imam alayhi salam, the other is empty. One is sent to Basra, the other to Baghdad, each guided with a cavalry and guarded by a cavalry. we ask that if he was doing that in innocence, if he arrested the Imam alayhi salam truly because there were serious allegations which he could prove, why did he need to mislead the public in this way, so that the public does not even come to know which of the two carries the Imam alayhi salam? And from that day onwards, it is said, the Imam alayhi salam always remained in custody. Shaykh Sadduq alayhi rahmah puts the period of that custody to 10 years consecutively. Others have put lesser time. Nobody has put a period of less than 6 years. But that was a period in which again a great deal of guidance was issued. He was sent actually to Basra into the custody of Isa bin Ja'far al-Mansur, grandson of Mansur that we are talking about, so that he could be kept in custody in that way. And a year later, just 1 year later, he writes a letter to Isa saying, you have kept Al-Kadhim alayhi salam for a year, now I'm writing to you to seek his blood from you. And Isa writes the letter back. This is how information reaches us, right? And that letter is extant till today. Writes a letter to him and says, "O Ma'mun, I was hoping to write to you a letter myself. I have kept him for a year. I have found not a scintilla of evidence to even support or even reach any of the allegations you have made. This man is Abdul Salih, a virtuous servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala." And he sets out the way the Imam spends his day. He says, he spends very little time in sleep at night. He wakes up matter of couple of hours or so in the small hours of the night, and he is in his tahajjud. We've discussed 5,000 istighfar every night. He is in tahajjud until Fajr. He says his morning prayers and remains in salah and in ibadah and in dua until the sun rises. Once the sun rises, he is back into sajda. He is in sajda until dhuhr. And when dhuhr comes, he is up and recites his dhuhr namaz without making a fresh wudu. This is what he emphasized, Isa emphasized. Meaning, in other words, that the Imam alayhi salam was not sleeping in that sajda. A sajda of 3 or 4 hours, not a wink, because the wink spoils your wudu. He says he does not even renew his wudu. He is in sajda at dhuhr. He is up reciting his nawafil, reciting dhuhr, back into sajda until asr. When asr is over, back into sajda until maghrib, recites his maghrib prayers with nawafil, then isha, and then makes his iftar. He is a person who is qa'imul layl wa sa'imun nahar. He is always in salah at nights and fasting during the day. What fantastic example he led. And then after isha, again he is in prayer, in salah and in dua and in recitation of Quran. I have kept spies, he says, to listen to the du'as he makes. I have kept spies to know what he recites in his namaz. This is how, my dear brothers and sisters, we come to know today what surahs to recite in nawafil, what surahs to recite in wajib namaz. These ahadith from Imam Kadhim alayhi salam that we have in our books come to us when he is in prison. Incarcerated, he sends out these messages to us, and we come to know, we come to be guided. Prison meant nothing to him. This is the man, you remember, who said, your yesterday cannot be the same as your today. If your yesterday is the same as today, you have made no profit in your life at all. It's of no benefit to you at all. Indeed, if your today is less beneficial than your yesterday, you don't deserve even to have a tomorrow. How can that man then spend his days of incarceration in the cell without his improving his tomorrow from today, and without his today being better than his yesterday. One could see his nawafil going on, his prayers going on in that way. Indeed, Isa says in his letter to Ma'mun, and this is perhaps what became very unsufferable to Ma'mun. He says in his letter, my spies heard his du'as. Some of the du'as I've already discussed with you. Monday night we discussed some of the du'as that he recite. Allahumma inni as'aluka rahata inda al-maut wal-afwa inda al-hisab. The other dua, azuma dhanbu min abdik falyahsinu al-af min indik ya kareem. All these and many others, some of these set out by Isa in his letter. But one dua that I certainly want to mention to you is, he says to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my incalculable, eternal thanks to you that I am in this prison. He says, oh Allah, I always prayed for you. Those who have any touch with Gnosticism can listen to this from Al-Kadhim alayhi salam. He says, oh Allah, I always prayed to you that you should give me a part of my life in which I have no duty to discharge to you except to worship you. And this is the chance you have given me. No duties now. He is incarcerated against his will. So no questions from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as to what he did or he did not do. Confined in that area in shackles. And indeed, it is Fadl bin Rabi' who turns round and says, even those shackles were shining in the feet of Al-Kadhim alayhi salam. And as he went into prostration, one could see those shackles shining. He says to Allah, you have given me this opportunity when I have no other worldly duties to discharge to you. I can worship you and worship you all day and all night to my heart's content, the way you deserve to be worshipped, and my eternal gratitude to you that you have given me this opportunity. I ask, who has won? Who has lost? Has Harun al-Rashid won one bit, one iota of what he wanted? He's left with curses till today. His progeny is unknown, his grave is unknown. But Al-Kadhim alayhi salam won every bit of it. He said he wanted that opportunity. That opportunity when he would only be in his ibadah. I say tonight as I wind up this series, that if there is a greatest lesson Al-Kadhim alayhi salam has taught us, he has taught us this lesson from the prison. Seek that opportunity when you are discharged from other duties of this world and can stay and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in solitude, in imprisonment, if that is how it will be. But when there is nothing to distract us, sole concentration for worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he says, I am eternally grateful to you for having given me this opportunity. Indeed, I must not allow this evening, my hour to be over without telling you what you perhaps already know of. But I'm sure you want to listen to this again. This report reaches Harun. He decides Isa is no good for me. Moves him to Fadl bin Rabi'. Fadl bin Rabi' say, in the time of Fadl bin Rabi', a companion of Imam Abdullah bin Qazwini, and we get this from Shaykh Saduq alayhi rahmah, Abdullah bin Qazwini, worried, what is happening to the Imam alayhi salam? Anxious to visit the Imam alayhi salam, to have the ziyarah of Imam alayhi salam. This was the spirit of the Shias of the time. He says, I will go to Fadl bin Rabi', see if I can have some way of finding how my Imam alayhi salam is. So he goes to Fadl bin Rabi'. Fadl bin Rabi' calls him in, says, come Abdullah, don't be afraid. But nobody trusts these people of Harun. So he goes in with some courage and says, Abdullah, I know you have come to meet your Mawla. So he says, my Mawla doesn't live here. He is not here, he is in the palace. Rabi'ah says, yes, hold on. When everybody else was cleared, and now there were only two in the house, he and Abdullah, he says, Abdullah, I know too well that the one who lives in the palace is but your Mawla on your lips, so that I don't harm you. I know your Mawla in your heart is the one who is my prisoner, but he is not my prisoner. He is my Mawla too. You can see how the prison warden is converted into a Shia. And God alone knows who is the better Shia. He says, he's my Mawla too. So Rabia says, who are you talking about? He's still not sure whether he's being trapped or not. Who are you talking about? He said, I'll show you who I'm talking about. Come. Look there. Takes him to the roof from where the dungeon in which the Imam alayhi salam was could be seen. He says, look there, can you see? He says, yes, I can see. He says, what can you see? He says, oh Rabia, all I see is a garment on the floor. A garment on the floor. And Rabia says, yes, you see it as a garment on the floor. Look more clearly. I will allow you to go nearer to him if you like. So he goes nearer. He says, Rabia, this looks like someone in sajda. And he says, that is our Imam in sajda. And he turns around and says, oh Abdullah, I do not see him in any other state. He's just in one of the three states. Either he is in qiyam, or ruku, or sajda, or he is constantly in sajda, or he is reciting Quran or du'as, but always fasting during the day and praying at night. He says, I haven't seen a person of this level. I haven't heard of, not read of, a person who is abid, who is a worshipper to this degree and this extent. We have known of the ibadah of Imam Ali alayhi salam, and I talked about it in 1999. And we have learnt of the ibadah of one who came to be called Zainul Abidin. You remember, he was called Zainul Mutahajjidin. And so he was in his own right. Abdullah comes out and says, I could see he has lost his weight, but I could see that he was so happily, spiritually engaged in his prayers. And what I cannot miss saying is, Harun received such news, moves him from Rabi' to Fadl. Fadl also treats him well because he finds him a great solace. And in the meantime, what we do not have the opportunity to discuss, questions reach him and he answers them. Matters of imamah are conducted as and when necessary. Substance of the life being ibadah. Fadl bin Yahya was punished, some say 100 lashes, 100 lashes by Mamun only because he became kind to the Imam alayhi salam. Kind, not that he was doing anything more, but he refused to kill the Imam alayhi salam. Rabi' also refused to kill the Imam alayhi salam. You can see how they were converted. They are the people then who continued to spread the news and to spread Islam and to spread the name of the Imam alayhi salam. Enemies turned loyals to this extent. We ask Harun, where did your loyal officers go? And who won that part of the episode anyway? Harun decides one night that he will send a beautiful girl who was a beautiful singer, fantastic singer, a first-rate dancer, to serve the Imam alayhi salam. What a concept. When she is sent to the prison, of course she goes because of the rewards that Harun had promised. When she gets there, the Imam turns around and tells, he was already then in the prison of Sindhi bin Shahiq, la'anatullah alayh, most cruel of the wardens that the Imam alayhi salam had. And he turns around to the man who brought the lady, saying, I have no need for such persons around me. Please take her back. She is taken back to Harun. Harun says, go and tell Al-Kadhim alayhi salam, he is not in the prison by his choice. Who knows? Who knows? But Harun thinks that he is not there by his choice. He is there on my command. So he will remain there in my command, at my order, and anybody who is sent there at my command will also remain there at my command. Even that proved wrong in matters of no days. So the lady goes back and she enters that prison, that dungeon in which the Imam alayhi salam was. The Imam alayhi salam never takes any notice of her because he is in sajda. But what the lady says is, I saw wonderful things. I saw that when the Imam alayhi salam was in sajda, he was reciting, Ya Quddus, Ya Subhan, O Holy One, O Glorified One. And he said he kept repeating that tasbih, Ya Quddus, Ya Subhan. We learn what we should be saying, Ya Quddus, Ya Subhan, Ya Quddus, Ya Subhan. And the lady says, as he said those words, I heard other people repeating those words behind him. I looked around, I couldn't see anybody, but people, not one, but a group was repeating those words. I decided, I too will go into sajda. This lady goes into the sajda. The singing and the dancing is all forgotten. She goes into the sajda and she also starts repeating those words, Ya Quddus, Ya Subuh. And the effect of emulating the Imam alayhi salam, glorious lesson for us tonight. If that lady whose job was what I cannot describe in this holy place would be turned into the kind of person we are talking about, should we not be following that example of the Imam alayhi salam? She reports, and she reported this to Harun in the court, because she was brought in the court to explain what she was doing, and immediately dismissed, immediately locked in another prison, so that she does not disseminate this information. But the information, by the grace of Allah, has reached us till today, centuries later. She says, as I went into the sajda and I started saying, Ya Quddus, Ya Subhan, I could see the skies open up. I could see all those who were responding to the Imam and reciting as the Imam was. I saw there were angels of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also replying, responding, they too worshipping Allah. In other words, may I put it this way to you, to say that the Imam was teaching the angels how to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She saw that as the Imam alayhi salam worshipped, the angels followed. She followed in the hope that she would become angelic too. And when Sindhi is called by Ma'mun to say, what is the report? And Ma'mun sent another person to spy on her. The report is that she has followed the Imam alayhi salam. Now she is fasting during the day. She does all this at night. She is in the sajda and she does this all the time. The Imam alayhi salam not even looking at her. Called upon to explain, she says, when I saw this, I was flabbergasted and I have become like that myself. And the reports say that from those days, though she was released from that prison, from those days until her death, she always remained in that state, fasting during the day, and Ya Quddus, Ya Subhan at night, prostrations after prostrations, lasting lessons that he had taken from the Imam alayhi salam until she also passed away a few months before the Imam alayhi salam passed away. The Imam alayhi salam, ultimately, I have to cut the story short now because time has passed beyond my expectation. But a time comes when Harun says to Sindhi, you must somehow end the life of this person. Sindhi takes poisoned dates. According to one report, takes them himself. The Imam alayhi salam says, I do not eat dates, O Sindhi. My life now is 2 hard loaves, 2 dry loaves a day with 1 glass of hot water. And this is all that he survived on for his iftar. He says, Sindhi, that is the food I am accustomed to. Don't give me these dates because I am not used to eating these dates. My system will not take it. Sindhi forces him, obliges him, says, no, you must take, otherwise it will be at the cost of your life. Ultimately he takes. When he had taken a few of them, Sindhi says, you've got to take more. Sindhi wants to make sure that the poison spreads through his life. The Imam alayhi salam turns to him and says, Sindhi, the purpose for which you are giving me these dates will be fully fulfilled even by the number of dates that I've eaten. I need to eat no more to satisfy your purpose. And his body turns. It turns red, it is blushed all through. Sindhi immediately calls judges, magistrates, elders of the city to come and see that the Imam alayhi salam has not been wounded, no marks at all. he has not been ill-treated at all. So that if he dies, he has died a natural death. The Imam alayhi salam opens up the covering that by which he is covered and says, if you are intelligent people, if you truly are judges, look at my condition. I have rashes all over. This is the poison in the dates that Sindhi has given to me as he stands here. He has poisoned me in this way. Today you see me red. If you come tomorrow, you will see me yellow. Day after tomorrow, I will already have become white and I will lose my life. And indeed, he is martyred in that way. But as we talk of this worship of Imam Kadhim alayhi salam and how he worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, tonight is the night when that foundation was laid in Karbala as well. The Imam alayhi salam is asked for a battle that very moment. Umar ibn Sa'ad, at about 4 p.m. on the 9th of Muharram, sends a group wanting to start the battle. One night is sought. And it is said that the Imam alayhi salam sought that night, saying, so that Nusalli li Rabbi wa na'du, so that we pray, we make salah to Allah and we pray. And indeed, we say that is true. There is no question about it, because the enemies say that there was so much prayer going on that to us, sitting in the camps of Umar ibn Sa'ad, we could hear the humming of the bees with the recitation of the Quran, some in ruku', some in sujood, following the example of the Imam alayhi salam. And yet, it was a night of repentance for those in the other camp. The Imam alayhi salam was giving them yet one more chance, so that they also become like Hur. Hur was one example, 3 or 4 others, but he was giving them an opportunity so that they see that they are between heaven and hell, as Hur puts it. It was also a night taken by the Imam alayhi salam to bless his companions. He lectured them, gave them du'as. But Nawfal bin Hilal says that a stage came when I did not see the Imam alayhi salam. I got worried. Where is my Mawla? I turned round and I saw someone going in the battlefield. I rushed behind the person to check. Happens to be him. But as I rushed behind, I disturbed him. He looks back and says, Nawfal, what are you doing here? Nawfal says, Ya Sayyidi, I looked for you. I was looking for you. It is my last night to be with you. So I wanted to spend a few hours, a few moments with you. I didn't see you. I was worried. I saw you alone in the battlefield. I didn't want you to be alone. A stray arrow from an enemy could kill you. I will take that arrow if it comes. Sayyidi, let's go back to the camp. But oh Sayyidi, as I came, I see that you stop, you make sajda, you pray and you move on. What are you doing in this battlefield at this hour of night when it is all so dark? Imam Hussain alayhi salam says, Nawfal, wherever you have seen me, whenever you have seen me making a sajda, is the place one of my friends will collapse. I can tell you where Habib will fall. I can tell you where Muslim bin Awsaja will fall. Oh Nawfal, I can tell you where Aoun and Muhammad will fall. So Nawfal says, Mawla, this is your grace that you are visiting their sites before they even fall, and you are praying for them. The Imam alayhi salam says, Nawfal, they are dear to me and I want to pray to them whilst I am alive on this last night. Nawfal says, Sayyidi, show me the place where I will fall. We say, Nawfal, how fortunate you are. The Imam alayhi salam says, Nawfal, come, I will show you. And there again the Imam makes a sajda, makes a prostration, prays for Nawfal, says, Nawfal, this is where you will fall. And Nawfal says, I lean down and kiss the place. I said, oh Allah, these are the words of your hujjah. Make them come true and I should fall here in the cause of Hussain alayhi salam. But Nawfal says, as he was showing me the place, I saw a lady sitting somewhere and she was weeping. I turned to the Imam and said, Sayyidi, there is a lady here. this is frightening, and she is crying. The Imam says, Nawfal, what lady are you talking about? This is my mother, Fatima. Fatima has already come from heaven. She is at the place where I will fall, Nawfal. That is the place where I will fall. She is already there, cleaning the pebbles so that I don't get hurt, and praying for me. Nawfal, she has always been with me all the journey through. Indeed, she remained with the caravan, and we see evidence of Fatima even at the time when the caravan was already in the prison in Syria. But the Imam alayhi salam says, Nawfal, this is where Asghar will be assassinated. Nawfal says, Sayyidi, will Asghar also go? He says, yes, I'll bring him to bring water for him. And indeed, when the Imam went to the camp and told Rabab, give me my Asghar, because he also needs thirst, he needs water. The mother says, Ya Sayyidi, nobody is there who is so light-hearted as to give Asghar water. These are hard-hearted people. They will not give Asghar water. The Imam says, I will make a hujjah. I will tell them that he is a 6-month-old child who is thirsty. Somebody might be a father with a heart within his body. Let me try. And Rabab knows what will happen. Dresses Asghar, says Asghar, this is my last chance as a mother to dress my child. Let me dress you. Let me put on your best clothes for you. And then puts a little sword on the side of Asghar. Says Asghar, you are the grandson of the Lion of Allah. You too will need a sword to fight with. We say, Ya Rabab, you brought that sword from Medina so that you can tie it round the waist of Asghar, so that you can use it on this occasion. And indeed, the Imam takes Asghar there. A time comes when the people start running around saying to Umar ibn Sa'ad, what wrong has this 6-month child done that you want the child to be treated like this? We want to give the child water. Umar ibn Sa'ad says to Harmala, iqta' kalab al-Husayn. Oh Harmala, cut into pieces the request of Hussein. Harmala now takes the arrow. Harmala keeps missing the arrow. Umar says, Harmala, you are the best of the archers. How come you missed the arrow? Harmala says, Umar, as I aim, I see a lady raising the curtain of the tent. Harmala, I know it is the mother of Asghar who is conscious. My heart does not allow me. Ultimately he does. And when that arrow hits Asghar, it hits Asghar min al-udhuni ila al-udhun. It gets into one ear, comes out into the other ear. The Imam holds that blood of Asghar, doesn't know what to do with the blood of Asghar, wants to throw it up. Asman, the heavens say, Hussein, not a drop of this blood, otherwise there will never be rain. Wants to drop it on the floor. The earth says, Hussein, not on me, otherwise not a grain of earth. This is the grandson of Rahmatun lil Alameen. He takes that blood, puts it on his beard and says, Asghar, I will meet the grandfather in this way. Takes the body to a Rabab. All that Rabab says, Amithluka yanar. Do they slaughter even a 6-month-old child like you? But then what happened has never happened in history. The Imam alayhi salam digs a small grave. The diggers of the grave are the mother and the father. We are always told relatives must not dig grave. Here is the father of Asghar digging the grave. The mother helps also that Asghar is saved, his body is saved, he is protected. When the grave is done, the mother and father stand on the grave and cry. And Imam Hussein says, Rabab, it is with our tears that we will pour water on the grave of Asghar. What did Rabab say when Rabab saw the head of Asghar on the spear? She said, Asghar, we buried you. Your father took the trouble to bury you so that this does not happen. Even your head on the spear. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. رحم الله من يقرأ الفاتحة.